Elon Musk just bought $1.5 billion worth of Bitcoin and threw it on Tesla's balance sheet. So in this video, we're going to talk about why Elon bought Bitcoin, what it means for Tesla stock and the Bitcoin price, and of course, what you should be doing about it with your money, whether or not you own Tesla stock and Bitcoin. Because at this point, you may want to get in or you may actually want to sell. So let's talk about it. First off, though, what exactly happened here? Well, as I said, Tesla bought $1.5 billion worth of Bitcoin. And also, it plans to accept Bitcoin as a payment in the future for their cars. Now, 1.5 billion is a lot of money, and it is a significant percentage of Tesla's cash on their balance sheet. So the company had more than 19 billion in cash and cash equivalents on hand at the end of 2020. So 1.5 billion is around 8% of that cash. And if we go to their SEC filing, which is how this information came out, because you got to tell the SEC when you do these things, you can see Tesla describing what they did. They said in January 2021, we updated our investment policy to provide us with more flexibility to further diversify and maximize returns on our cash. And the cash they're talking about is that cash that's not required to maintain adequate operating liquidity. So this is the extra cash on their balance sheet. And you know they got a lot of it because they've issued so many new shares last year because their stock price keeps going up and Elon is taking advantage of it like he should. And like I always say, I'm a big Elon and Tesla fan. But I do these videos because even though I love Elon and Tesla, that doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to hold their stock forever, no matter what. I got to keep track of what's going on and I'm absolutely fine selling, as you should be with any stock. Should not be buying things just because you're an Elon fanboy. That's not risk management. So going forward, they said they may invest a portion of their cash in certain alternative reserve assets, including digital assets, aka Bitcoin, gold bullion, gold exchange traded funds, and other assets as specified in the future. So not just cash. And that's where they announced that they put 1.5 billion into Bitcoin. And they might hold it from time to time, which I guess they mean shorter term or long term. And they go on to say that they're going to accept Bitcoin in the future as a form of payment. So yet another company buys into Bitcoin, this time Tesla. And the question is, why are all these companies buying Bitcoin and putting it on their balance sheet? Well, the official reason that these companies are going to give is that they're buying Bitcoin to hedge their dollar risk. And what I mean by that is that a lot of companies transact overseas, right? So if someone buys a Tesla in China, they're paying in a Chinese currency, right? And that currency needs to be converted back into USD, the US dollar, because Tesla is an American-based company. And it's going to show as US dollars on their earnings reports. But we also know that the value of currencies fluctuate, right? And companies, their profits can get hit because of that fluctuation. If they're accepting payment in one type of currency and all of a sudden it's worth less in US dollar terms, that doesn't look so good. And that's what they talk about right here in this same SEC statement. They said they are exposed to fluctuations in currency exchange rates. We transact business globally in multiple currencies and have foreign currency risk related to our revenue, cost of revenue, operating expenses, and localized subsidiary debt denominated in currencies other than the US dollar, currently primarily the Chinese yuan, euro, Canadian dollar, and British pound. And that is a mouthful. But basically what they're saying is that they are exposed to these currencies because a lot of their business transacts in different ones. So to the extent that we have significant revenues denominated in foreign currencies, any strengthening of the US dollar would reduce our revenues as measured in US dollars. And they've historically experienced that. Every country has. So the idea is, okay, let's put some money into Bitcoin to hedge that currency risk so we're not just all sitting in dollars. Because what did we say here? They had 19 billion in cash and cash equivalents. So a lot of money in US dollars. So that's the official reason, right? Currency risk hedging. But realistically, if we think about Bitcoin, it is way more volatile than any other currency. So really the currency hedge argument doesn't hold much weight. What seems to be happening, because it's not just Tesla that's putting Bitcoin on their balance sheet, many companies are starting to. So what it seems like is that not only is speculation taking over in the retail space, which you already know GameStop, all these people that never traded before are getting in, but now it's moving over into corporate finance, where they're supposed to be a lot more conservative. And this once again is how bubbles continue to form. People get more and more speculative. They keep flying out over their skis. They start taking on leverage, and it all creates this big bubble that eventually pops. I'm not saying Tesla and Elon are doing that with their purchase in Bitcoin, but it's a sign of the times. Like I said, normally in corporate finance, you're more reserved. You wouldn't buy something like Bitcoin. Not because Bitcoin isn't great or anything like that, but because it's so volatile. So we know Elon just raised like $5 billion more dollars, right? And he goes and flips 25% of that into Bitcoin. And we don't know exactly when he did it, but look at this chart. It looks pretty good regardless of when you invested. He most likely made a good amount on this uptrend. Easy money, right? Much easier than selling cars. So we're never going to know the real reason why these companies are buying Bitcoin, but we can probably say that it has more to do with speculation. But there is something crazy going on here though, and it could mean big trouble for Tesla and Elon himself in the future. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about Elon's constant manipulation of these cryptocurrencies cryptocurrencies and the stock price in general of Tesla. So for example, recently before this announcement even came out, Elon added hashtag Bitcoin to his Twitter bio, which you wouldn't think is much of a move, right? Who cares? But at the same time, it pushed Bitcoin up as much as 20%. So Elon isn't like any other person, and we know this, right? He makes one tweet and he'll move the entire market. So the question is, when is it manipulation? Especially because Tesla has Bitcoin on their balance sheet now. And if you didn't know, well, you're not allowed to manipulate the stock market. But then again, so much crazy stuff is happening nowadays that maybe you are allowed to now. And I'm not just talking about the stock market, I mean any type of asset class. But let's keep talking about it. So Elon recently jumped on Clubhouse, and if you remember, he was interviewing the CEO of Robinhood, but he also had some things to say about Bitcoin. First thing he said is, I gotta watch what I say here because some of these things can really move the market. So he knows what he's doing, obviously. Then he went on to say about Bitcoin, many friends of mine have tried to convince me to get involved in Bitcoin for a long time. He once ate a slice of Bitcoin cake given to him by a friend in 2013, and he said he clearly should have at least bought some Bitcoin 8 years ago and that he's late to the party. He said, I do at this point think Bitcoin is a good thing and I'm a supporter of Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin is really on the verge of getting broad acceptance by conventional finance people. You can see this pretty good tweet from the Dr. Parik Patel quoting Elon back in December saying Bitcoin is almost as BS as fiat money, but now once he's invested, real happy. And of course you see he's trending on Twitter. And keep in mind that this Clubhouse stuff that he said was once again before this statement came out. He also talked about not having a strong opinion on other virtual currencies, but he did say Dogecoin was his favorite cryptocurrency. And boy oh boy has he been manipulating that crypto. The other week Dogecoin skyrocketed as much as 800% within 24 hours of Elon's tweet about it. So Elon said, occasionally I make jokes about Dogecoin, but they are really just meant to be jokes. Dogecoin was made as a joke to make fun of cryptocurrencies. But fate loves irony. The most entertaining outcome and the most ironic outcome would be that Dogecoin becomes the currency of Earth in the future. And you can see this right here. He said, so it's finally come to this. And he posted a picture of all three pumpers of Dogecoin: Elon, Gene Simmons, and Snoop Dogg. This is the world that we're living in right now, holding up the little Dogecoin. More tweets making fun of Dogecoin. He said, the people have spoken, the future currency of Earth. And yes, they all are jokes and we know that, but it also does move markets. And sure, Dogecoin can be a joke if he's not invested in it, but when he says something about Bitcoin and it moves the price like it does, is he allowed to keep talking about Bitcoin? There's another tweet by this guy, Nate Gerasi. I don't know how you say his last name, but he said, it's kind of amazing that Elon, Snoop, and Gene Simmons can pump Dogecoin, but ETF issuers can't retweet a basic educational article on their products. Portnoy from Barstool can pump Penn, Chamath can talk his SPACs, but ETF issuers can't educate without jumping over several compliance hurdles. Seems backwards. And that's really bringing up the question here, is any of this legal? My best friend is one of the biggest financial advisors in Michigan, and I've always tried to make content with him, work with him in some way, but everything he does is so regulated. He basically can't say anything. Even when he wants to say is educational and send it to his clients so they could learn something, and help them with their finances, there's still so many rules. Can't tweet, can't make a video, can't send an email. Everything needs to go through compliance. And that's what this guy is saying here. The same thing applies to these ETF issuers. They can't say anything, and they're way too regulated, versus everyone else seems to not be regulated at all. They could say whatever they want as long as it's on social media. Kathy Wood, she loves to pump her stocks. Chipmunk Palapatya, this guy is posting thirst traps and pumping his SPACs every day on Twitter. So again, what is the line? Because a lot of these could seem like pump and dump schemes, but maybe you're allowed to pump these stocks or these assets or whatever it is, as long as you don't dump it. So if Elon here sold all his Bitcoin into the announcement, and you can see what this announcement did right now, Bitcoin is up over 10%. So if Tesla dumped all their Bitcoin, then you might be able to say, hey, it was a pump and dump. So maybe that's the line that the SEC is looking for, but also we're kind of in a weird new world here with social media. They haven't had to deal with it before in a bubble scenario. Back in the 2000 bubble, you had like Yahoo message boards, right? But that was a very small amount of people that were on those boards. Here, Twitter, everyone is involved, and we just saw it happen with GameStop, right? Your old aunt who could barely use a cell phone has somehow downloaded Robinhood and is invested in GameStop. How? I don't know. But social media is just way more widespread than it ever was, and now we're seeing it act in these bubbles. So that is a risk here. If Elon keeps talking about Bitcoin and now Bitcoin is on Tesla's balance sheet, he already got in trouble with the SEC for talking about taking Tesla private at 420. Again, another joke. What are they going to do now? And maybe he stops talking about cryptocurrencies now. Now that this announcement has come out, he doesn't do any more tweets. He was getting it all out of his system. Not like you could top this anyway, but we're really just going to have to wait and see what happens. But there is a risk there. So now, of course, what do you do with your Bitcoin holdings and your Tesla stock? Or if you don't have any, do you buy? Well, let's take a look at the charts right here. And this Bitcoin chart, you remember we were looking at this this in a previous video. And we were looking at Bitcoin when it was consolidating into this little triangle. And we said if it breaks higher, that's a great buying point. If it breaks lower, then you got to watch out. Sure enough, it broke lower. And the next point we were looking at was this 50-day moving average, which you can see it touched multiple times but did not break. Because if it did break that average, then it's kind of look out below. At least short term. This is all short term that I'm talking about. Long term, this whole move with Tesla buying into Bitcoin, it just further accelerates the trend of Bitcoin becoming a solid currency that everyone has adopted. That seems to be happening. That's the difference between now and 2017. We're getting true corporate adoption, institutional adoption. That's what we were looking for. So we were talking about if Bitcoin didn't break this 50-day moving average and it actually popped, well, that was a good time to buy. So I would say right here, February 3rd, that was the best time to buy. And you can see it took off from there and it just got boosted by Elon's announcement. And as always, you know, it's not the worst strategy to buy on new highs. I know some people hate it, but a breakout is a breakout. Look at that. Today was the main day. If it closes above here, hey, maybe it's an opportunity to get in. So what am I doing with my Bitcoin holdings? Well, unfortunately, I still don't have any. And I told you guys that I want to invest 5% of my net worth into Bitcoin, and I still do, but I really just haven't had a chance. I've been rebalancing my money between my Fallible stock systems, and I haven't had a chance to get to Bitcoin yet, because honestly, Bitcoin is in the back of my mind. And when I put that 5% in, I'm going to be buy and hold, which you know I'm not a big proponent of, because when it comes to where a majority of my money should be, it should be in a system that has solid risk control. You guys know that. I say that like nonstop. So I am most definitely going to be late to the Bitcoin party. And with my luck, whenever I try to do anything without a system, I get screwed. So most likely what's going to happen is once I put my money into Bitcoin, you will see it drop huge, like 50%. Not saying that's the end of the Bitcoin trend, because I think it's going to keep going, but with my luck, I will get in at the intermediate top. And that is why I'm a systems guy, because I just can't function without them. Now, what should you do with your Tesla stock? Well, when it comes to Tesla, we are still very bullish. My co-founder at MacroOps, Tyler, he tweeted this morning. He said, wow, now Tesla bears have to fight Bitcoin as well. Good luck with that. He said, always remember, especially in this market, trade them, don't date them. And that's a really good trader saying right there. And that's kind of what I was explaining before. Even though I love Elon and Tesla, I'm going to be trading. I'm going to be managing my risk. When I say trading, I don't mean like day trading. Our system has been invested in Tesla for almost a year now. We'll probably make it to that year mark, but we've been managing risk the whole way. We've been taking profits. We sell if Tesla drops too low and we might get back in. We trade around the trend in order to manage our risk. But once again, I fully agree with this tweet. The picture for Tesla is very bright and it only got better now that they have Bitcoin on their balance sheet. Both are in a massive trend. Both are benefiting from this speculative bubble. And you can see here, Tesla is kind of making a base and it's just ready to break out. So a potential entry point, once again, is once it breaks to this new high. You love to see consolidations like this. That's all markets are, right? They compress and then they expand. And understanding how they move is how you can manage your risk within them while still making very good money. And Tesla, like I've mentioned so many times, it's really the poster child of this bull market. And this bull market is going to get so crazy this year. We got a bunch more stimulus coming. It is going to run like we've never seen before. And how old is this bull market too? And we still haven't seen the top. And what's going to benefit from that? Who's the front of the pack? Tesla, Elon. It is something you want to be invested in. You can see right here with our Fallible system, which is a momentum system, as you know, we have the TSI scanner that ranks all the stocks in the NASDAQ by their momentum. And every time I show you guys this, Tesla is number one. It's been number one for so long, maybe even 2 years now, at least a year and a half. And what this means is that Tesla has the highest momentum of any other stock, in the NASDAQ at least. So our system always rotates into the top 5 highest momentum stocks, right? Which is why, as I've been saying, we've been invested in Tesla for almost over a year now. The time we actually got out of Tesla was back here in March because we were controlling our risk. We sold on the way up of this trend and then sold when it dropped, but then bought back in right here. And we've been riding it up ever since because we didn't have another dip like we did in March. Even this dip right here, we didn't sell. There was no need to. We were following our risk control parameters, so we made a bunch of money in Tesla, but we've always been watching that downside because eventually, like I said, Bitcoin, Tesla, the poster childs of these bubbles, what happens to a bubble? It eventually pops. Do we know when it's going to pop? No, of course not. If we knew that, we'd all be billionaires, more than billionaires, trillionaires. So that's why you always have that risk management in place, because just in case this dip is the big crash, you're out. You manage your risk. And don't worry, everyone says, oh, but my profits and my long-term capital gains, blah, blah, blah. No, risk management trumps everything. We've done the studies, I'll tell you right now. Last year, our system was up over 60%. I think it was like 65. This year, right now, we're up 16% versus the rest of the market, which is up like 6. Nothing beats risk management. That's the way to trade in the market. That's the way to manage your money. And if you want to learn more about how we did it, and we actually go over the Tesla example, we have have this training. It teaches you the exact Fallible strategy that myself and all our Fallible members use. It's how we consistently grow our money every year while avoiding crashes. And you can see I changed this page a bit. Made it way more simple. Took out all the color. Now it looks just as plain as this background here. Because I realized something with this channel, the only thing I really care about is telling people about risk control. I'm going to be the most broke record you have ever heard. And I'm going to put a link to this training in this video and down below in the description and comments. So if you want to see how you could play this massive bull run that we're in right now while still managing your risk, so capturing all the upside while limiting your downside, then click this link right here to go to that training. You are not going to regret it, especially if you have real money in the market. Even if you have a small amount of money in the market, this is the best way to grow it. Click right here and I will see you in the training.